Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, The Universe Listens. As a very young person, I always felt that I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, having to make grown-up decisions in order to survive a life marked with physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. While my face was smiling on the outside, on the inside, I always secretly cried and felt miserable. However, over the years, I learned some gems that helped to turn my life around. I now get to live the life of my dreams, filled with love, travel, and wonderment. And I am absolutely passionate about sharing what I have learned with you. If you want to live your best life, tune in each week as I, along with some amazing guests, share these life-changing gems with you. Inspired to be more, do more, have more. Greetings and welcome to this episode of Speak, the Universe Listens. Today's topic is the mindset of an entrepreneur. And we actually have with us today Stephen Friend, who is a recent guest on our show, and he's back today because he has so many good topics to talk about. We were trying to smush them all into one episode. But however, Stephen Friend, I found him on Facebook under a wonderful Facebook page called Words of Wisdom, so you can find him there as well on Instagram, Words of Wisdom. But also, Stephen is an entrepreneur. And his business is Friends Handyman Service. And so today he's going to share a little bit with us about the mindset of an entrepreneur. So welcome again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah. So how long have you been an entrepreneur?
I've been an entrepreneur since 2016.
Okay.
Yeah. I pretty much started off. I had a job. I was working at a company for about 10 years. Okay. And during my time there, I pretty much learned the ins and outs on how to run a business. And that's where I got my first start from in the management field. And so eventually, over time, it got to a point as to where it was like, wow, I know how to run a business now. I think I want to go ahead and do that for myself. And so what I did was, it took me a while to get the courage to put that 2 weeks in and to go ahead and just step out on faith and do it and actually do it. And so before I did it, I went on vacation, and I took a vacation from my job, and it was about a week. And with that week, I was at home, just pure silence. And I thought about it, just hit me like, you just open up your own business. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, it was like, what are you waiting for? And so I got out a piece of paper, pencil, and I just started jotting down a plan. So when I started jotting down my plan, then I was like, okay, now I put the vision on the paper. Now I just got to apply the action to the vision.
Right.
And so when I went back, I put my 2 weeks notice in. And when I put my 2 weeks notice in, everybody was like, is you alright? Is you crazy?
Right.
Yeah, and when I did, I was nervous. I was really nervous because that safety net of security is being removed.
Right.
And so when that got removed from me, it felt like I was free. And so my first couple of weeks out and about, it was really nerve-wracking, but I was motivated. I was my drive to succeed was high.
Yeah.
it was very high.
Right.
I would say a lot of the time, what I did was I really did surround myself with people that already had success in their business or were on their way. They had the experience already, and so I always sit back and ask questions, try to see what it is that they are doing, or what was it that made them get to where they are. So that was one thing that I really did, and I lot. I learned a lot, and I would say the biggest thing is not being afraid to make mistakes. So often of the time we striving to be perfect, and nobody's perfect.
Right.
Nobody's perfect. So I learned a lot through my mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes on the financial part, on the business side of things. I made a lot of mistakes, but those mistakes made me smarter and made me more knowledgeable.
Right.
So the next go round is like, all right, now I know
Right.
how how to move. So and then from there, it was just pretty much more. After I applied the action, now I'm maintaining, and I just kept going at it. And so I really surrounded myself with good people, knowledgeable people that knew what they were doing, and made sure that I had a good team. That's what I think, good team.
Yeah, so that's terrific. So let's go all the way to the beginning.
Yeah.
So you actually, within 3 weeks from the time you said I'm going to do this
Right.
until you launched, it was about 3 weeks. And that's really interesting to me because so many times we hear people saying they're going to start a business and
Right.
it goes on and on and on, and people are never ready. It's never the right time. They don't have the right resources. They don't have the right knowledge, and it just goes on and on and on. And of course, I understand that to be fear.
Right. It's the
That's
fear.
really what it
It's
is.
the
And
fear.
so you can always talk yourself out of something. So I guess my question is, how were you able to talk yourself into this?
I would say the first thing was, okay, when I had that week of vacation and I was jotting down my business plan, putting in that action. So the action was, okay, that whole week I made my business cards. I jotted down my plan of action as to how I was going to advertise myself. So I pretty much made a pre-pamphlet of what I was going to do, when I get my feet out there. And when I did it, I felt good about it because then I started scratching off things on my list. And then when I started scratching things off on my list, the fears sort of subsided a little bit. And it just made me even more empowered to say, you got this, you got this.
Yeah,
So,
I have a similar story because there was no thought. I mean, I think just my upbringing kind of programmed me that I would start my own business someday. It was never actually said or anything like that. But when I was maybe like 7 years old, 6, 7 years old, I used to sell packets of cookies. And so my mom, she actually bought me my first box of cookies. So I'm going to say like maybe 30 packs came in the box. And so she was like, your first box is on me. And then after that, you're responsible for buying your next box.
Okay.
And so after that, she kind of talked to me about how did you price the cookies, and that you had to price it such that you would have enough to buy another box and have a little on the side. And so, I went through that whole process as a 6 or 7-year-old, buying and selling cookies and making money and knowing like how many I can give away versus how many I must sell in order,
Right,
so
I
I did that as a young person. But there was never really anything that was like, okay, you'll have your own business someday. But I remember my husband coming home saying that his job, he had actually went to look for another job, or maybe some job reached out to him. But anyway, someone reached out to him and offered him like a lot more money than he was making at his current job. So when he went to that job to say, I'm quitting, that job was like, no, we're going to match it and up it a little bit. So he's all excited. So he's like, okay, I'm getting this huge raise. And I'm like, Something. And so I was like, okay, well, obviously you have something that they want.
Exactly.
But they didn't tell you that at first. They weren't honest with you.
They didn't want to tell you.
And so we actually sat there, and I'm saying, well, what do you do? And so I'm like really trying to understand, like, exactly, specifically, what is your job? What is it that they see that they want, that they want it that bad? And so we like actually went through for hours just sitting there on that day. And as he's telling me, I'm just taking note. And so on the overnight, I actually wrote up everything. Like I wrote up a whole job plan, right? A whole everything. Right. Because I remember when we were kids, I don't know if you guys in your age group, if y'all had this, but I remember there was this question people would ask. They were like, if there was a ship full of fun, but if you got on the ship, you're going to have a great time, but you knew the ship was going to sink. But you can't, you can make it back to shore. Would you get on the ship? And so I remember I used to be like, yeah, I'll get on the ship. If I know I can swim back and it's going to be a lot of fun, I'll get on the ship. And so that's kind of like what we were thinking with the business. We were like, okay, if it doesn't work, we know how to get back. Right. Exactly. So why not? And so the next morning, I had this whole business plan laid out, and then we just launched.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And that's all. It's pretty much how it was for me too. I just sit back and I just started doing things that I know that I needed to do just to get my foot in the door. And when I just started to do, it was like, wow, okay, I'm seeing it. My dream, the thought that I put into this is actually manifesting. And it just motivated me. It really did. It motivated me to keep going. So, like I said, I would tell anybody that's starting a business, the main thing is to really have faith in yourself, believe in yourself. It's scary at first, but before you even do anything, have a plan. make sure that you have a plan, and go with that plan. And even with myself, I made mistakes with my business. At times, the first year wasn't so great. Second year, it wasn't that great. And then going to the third year, it's like, okay, I learned from the first, I learned from the second year, third year. Now let's get better, and start to see progress.
Yeah. I remember our first presentation. So we had a plan, like he was going to say this, I was going to say this, so it's all laid out. And so I guess we both got up there and got nervous. And so he didn't say his part, and he was just like, okay, it's on her. And I'm just like, stage fright. And so I actually literally had to pull my notes out, and I was reading the stuff like this. So like the whole plan just went out the window or whatever. But like you were saying, you make mistakes and you learn from them. And it's not the end of the world. Yeah, it's okay. It ended up being okay. They ended up, that county that we presented to, they ended up being our biggest providers. Wow. So even though we totally flubbed everything. Yeah.
Okay. But that's what I would tell anybody. Don't be scared to make mistakes and just basically learn from them. And even when you fall, get back up. Keep going. Don't quit on your dream.
Right. That's it. And I would say, not knowing is not a good enough excuse to not do.
Don't make an excuse. Yeah. Don't make an excuse.
Yeah. And like a lot of times, people think things are hard, and it's really that you just don't know how to do it. And so once you know how to do it, then it's easy. So the only thing you have to do is find out how to do it.
Find out how to do it.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes, with the excuses, like you were saying before, people will say that, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to do it next year. Well, when you say it, eventually you may start your business, but do it. Just go ahead and do it, because the more that you're talking about it, you're just prolonging. You're prolonging. So I would tell somebody, just make sure that you have a plan for yourself. If you have fear, if you really are nervous, then I would tell you make baby steps. Do the thing that you are least scared of.
Yes.
Start with that,
Yeah.
and then work your way on up to moving forward for yourself.
And then you mentioned that people were like, wait a minute, what's wrong with you? Or, you sure you want to do this thing?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I think the quick launch is very effective because you get to avoid all the naysayers. And they're not necessarily people who want bad things for you. They're people who love you who are like, I don't know.
Exactly. It's just like, I don't know.
You might want to rethink that. And if you let that play in your head and you're like, yeah, they right, it's not the time.
Exactly.
Or whatever. And I remember when we started telling people when we started this business, it was just silence.
Really?
Like no one said anything. It was almost like we were just talking to ourselves.
Right.
And so we're like, okay, is this silence? What does that mean? Like no support, no encouragement. You don't believe this is going to happen. But yeah, you keep saying, just having faith in yourself and just take a step.
Right.
Take a step.
I remember I had my when I told my boss at the time I was gonna put my 2 weeks in, and first thing was like, well, what company you going to now? I said, well, hey, I'm gonna start my own business. I don't think that'd be the right choice for you, And so I got a lot of backlash from people because they wanted to see me succeed. They liked me. There wasn't negativity, but it was negative criticism, and they actually probably didn't even know that they were doing that.
Right, exactly.
But sometimes we get discouraged when somebody says, are you sure? Are you sure about that? And then you start to second guess yourself, So for anybody that want to be an upcoming entrepreneur, never allow somebody's opinion affect your dream or what you want to do. You can sit back and have an open mind to constructive criticism and listen to what they have to say, but don't allow that to stop.
Yeah, I always say don't let logical reasons get in the way, because a lot of times what they're saying makes perfectly good sense. And I mean, you can imagine what people were saying when the Wright brothers were like, we're going to build an airplane.
Right.
Like, people, if God wanted us to fly, he'd have gave us wings,
Exactly.
And so for whatever reason, they were able to not listen to logical reasons, because logical reasons can be your downfall.
They can. So I would really tell anybody, just even with myself when I got into the business and I made mistakes. With those mistakes, I pretty much analyzed what was it that went wrong, and how can I make that better the next go round. We can be so quick to, like I said before, we'll judge ourselves and beat ourselves up because we made a mistake. But the best thing about it is anytime you make a mistake, you're learning something new, and you're learning it on your own. So with that, just making sure that you believe in yourself cold-heartedly, and like I said before, having that view and that vision of the end goal, feel that end goal, put yourself in that time as to where it's like, you know what, I got it, and even though that you don't have it yet, but just visualize that you have it, and then it'll manifest for you.
And what I liked what you said about once you started writing it down and then you started crossing things out, and how that empowered you and gave you more energy. It's like that, to me, that's like a true sign, like just when you feel that passion behind whatever it is that you're doing, just go for it.
Just go for it. Exactly. Just go for it.
Just go for it. So thank you so much for this. And if you can share with us a little bit about your business and also how we can contact you.
Yes. So with my business, Friends Handyman Service, we specialize in hanging TVs on the wall, assembling any merchandise that you have, painting, anything household wise that you need taken care of, give me a call.
Okay.
And my telephone number is 804-484-4972, and then you can reach me at my email at StephenFriend86@gmail.com.
All right. Can you repeat that one more time? Your number and your email.
Number 804-484-4972, and then email is going to be StephenFriend86@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
people will give you a call. I
hope
know
so.
that I will when I need some help.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
thank you guys for checking us out today, and make sure you also visit his website. His Facebook page, Words of Wisdom, and check out my website as well at arvetmcclain.com. That's ARVATMCCLAINE.com. And please check on the link below. Click to subscribe. Until next time.